Oh, hello? This thing on? I don't know if the background audio needs to be turned down or anything. I know I'm really quiet, so I guess it'll let me know. I'll just turn it down a little bit and see. Well, I can't tell the difference, but you should be able to. Okay, great. So today, I streaming for the first time actually ever, and then the last time I made a video was like 2 years ago. It's been a while. Um, I don't really have anything to say about that except I don't know. Obviously, there was a lot of things going on in the last 2 years that, yeah, well, whatever. That doesn't really need explanation. Let's just start with the, you know, what we're all here to see. So, over the last couple years, I have been trying to design a card game. And by a card game, I mean any card game, because I've just been, I've made all sorts of prototypes for all sorts of different card games. But I have finally decided upon one design, which I'm going to share today. So let me move off the starting screen and I have no idea. I checked it before stream. Well, my bad. Just been talking to myself for what, 10 minutes? That's okay. Well, that's awkward. I'll have to go through my preamble again now, and I minimized it. Okay, hold on. There we go. And don't minimize it. There. Now. Alright. It switched to silent right after I switched off the intro. Yeah, because they're two different scenes. So I must have had it switched off on the normal scene for some reason. Probably I had the other mic connected to it, and then when I switched to this one, I forgot to change it. No, I have a microphone connected. Yep, that's my bad. Okay, well, all right. Let me start from the top then. What I'm showing off today is a card game that I haven't been working on this specific card game very long, but this is the result of me trying to make a card game that's actually fun over the last couple of years. So that's why I have it called like the final prototype here, because hopefully it is the final prototype that I make. And I suppose that's enough preamble. I mean, you get the idea. And then what I was doing before I realized my mic wasn't working was explaining the actual card game. So the idea of this card game is you're the boss of a dungeon, and you well, actually, I was just gonna go through what the Elder Lich does. So using this as an example will make it make more sense. So the idea is you would pick out your whichever boss you want to play as, which might inform how you build your deck. And then, but your boss isn't in play at the beginning of the game. It actually comes into play at like towards the end of the game, because it follows the progression of traversing through a dungeon. So so for instance, this guy has some abilities here. So you can play undead cards from your graveyard. So the idea behind this is just to incentivize you to use the undead with him, because that's like, you give it some idea of how you're supposed to build your deck. And his gimmick is that you have to destroy the phylactery to actually kill him. So what the Lich's Lair says here is basically you start with the phylactery in your lair, which is like basically where the boss and the boss room are for most of the game until they actually come into play, because there's no need for them to be in the deck, because it's basically like your command zone for MTG, right? And then when the boss room actually comes into play, then the phylactery, you take the phylactery card, shuffle it in with any face down traps you have, and then place them all back down. So the idea is his gimmick is that you can't actually kill him because he'll come back at the start of your turn. unless you destroy the phylactery, which you'll have to disarm somehow, which I haven't actually made any cards that do that yet, so yeah. And then each room has a clear condition, which is how you actually beat other people's dungeons. So like basically the reason behind this kind of design with the dungeon and everything is because I don't like in other games where you're like fighting with monsters and stuff. I like the actual combat systems and the card abilities and everything, but I don't like the kind of strategies like healing your player so much that they can't die. Basically, you've just you heal so much that the other player doesn't have a chance at beating you anymore, or burn decks where you just deal damage directly to the player and circumvent actually battling. I mean that I want mechanics that focus on the actual battle part and enforcing that mechanically, rather than having the battle system and then being able to circumvent it with a number of cards. So so the idea is you do have life, because once your boss dies, that's the end of the game for you. Well, except for this guy, because he comes back, but this, I mean, they have higher health than normal cards, but it's not like, I don't know. The idea is you, instead of being able to attack the player directly at any time, you have to progress through their dungeon first. So basically, throughout the game you'll be playing dungeon rooms, or if all of your dungeon rooms have already been cleared, then that person has to just flip a dungeon room off the top of their deck and they get it for free. And each of those rooms has a clear condition. So once some other player accomplishes that condition, which, let me get out another room as an example here. Oh, didn't mean to click on that. Here, this one. I forgot to change the picture of this. It's not the right picture. So for here, the clear condition is defeat a ghost. So basically, you play this card, you get some benefit from having the room in your dungeon, and it has a clear condition. And then the clear conditions won't be too hard, because you'll probably be doing a few throughout the game. But basically, each time you clear a room in someone's dungeon, you advance their dungeon tracker, which is like a very, I guess, short board. I don't know. Basically, you would have like, I guess, I don't know how many spaces it would have exactly, but you'd probably have to go through like 5 rooms, and then the dungeon room would come out. And yeah, that's the kind of the idea. And then there's also the trap cards, which I mentioned for the Lich, which that's why this picture is this, because of this card. It's a trap that activates when someone advances your dungeon tracker, and that player has to either retreat one of their champions, which I haven't covered yet, or you get to move your dungeon tracker back 1 space. because they're running away. So, oh right, champions. So, champions are what you're using to attack other players' dungeons. So instead of having minions, your minion, like you have your minions to defend your base, but you're not actually attacking other people's minions with your minions. You're attacking other people's champions with your minions, and they're attacking your minions with their champions. And it goes both ways. But the bosses get to attack anything they want because they're huge. So basically, the idea is it's sort of like a catch-up. There's a sort of like some built-in catch-up mechanics. So like, for instance, when your dungeon tracker is advanced, if you don't have any more dungeon rooms, you just get one for free, and you don't have to pay the cost of building it. Because they need to be able to clear a room in your dungeon. So you're just getting a free benefit for having taken damage at that point. And also, if you're the first person to have your boss room come into play, then now suddenly you have your strongest card on the field. But you're also vulnerable because you can take damage now. So those are sort of the main concepts. Oh, and I didn't talk about the champions. Well, I did, but the champions, I don't know exactly. I think you probably will start with one in play or something, just to get things started, because otherwise it might move kind of slowly. But the idea for champions is that they don't actually die because you need them to fight the other players' dungeons. So instead they retreat to your lair when they would die, and then you can play them again from your lair. And that's the idea there. And they're basically better than normal minions because you're going to be using them to fight other people's minions and clear their dungeons. Okay, I think that covers pretty much all the basic mechanics. I don't think I missed anything. This is all the stuff that went into thinking about this design. I mean, there's actually other iterations of this design below here, because originally it was there was no shape to this game. It's just I had the ideas for the creature cards. And then another idea that was completely different, basically. That's usually how my creative process goes. I could talk about my other ideas for card games later, but anyways, it's probably time to start working on some more of these designs. So for the first few, I guess the starting decks, I kind of want classic RPG bosses, like, you know, like a undead skeleton wizard, you know, lich, a slime, a dragon. I was thinking of having a king of some sort that, you know, you can play with all the knights and stuff, and I guess kind of play the good guys. Well, quote unquote. So let's look at the oh wait, it's not here. I guess I didn't save it. Well, let me close these. So the Royal Slime's gimmick is that they split. So when they take damage, you create a copy of the card with one less health than the damage it took. So you hit it with 5 damage, you get a 4 health copy of it. I was thinking about that, yeah. I was thinking probably the knights might use, like, summon angels or something. Or even I thought about having, like, a celestial boss, which would be kind of crazy. But I haven't gotten too much into it yet. I mostly was... I mean, I put Holy as the weakness for the Lich, but then I didn't have any cards that did Holy damage yet, so I guess we'll see. But I did have the idea that basically the way you would counter the undead decks would be to kill them permanently, because you can bring back cards from the graveyard, so you would send them to... Well, I'm calling it Valhalla right now, but it's basically exiling cards. So yeah, I haven't actually figured out all of the factions yet, really at all, except for the undead one's kind of the most filled out. This one is, I couldn't think of what this would actually be, so it's just a monster. Until I think of something better. Also, obviously, these symbols are placeholders as well. But yeah, the slimes. Basically, I was thinking of, or at least the pattern so far is that each of the bosses will have a gimmick that helps them to survive longer, besides just having health. And this one is that it, you know, it creates smaller copies of itself when it takes damage. And then it can heal if it kills a card, but it has low damage, so I guess it's tricky to work around. And then the dragon... I hadn't figured out everything for the dragon yet, except for that its gimmick would be it would just leave the battlefield if there was nothing strong in play. So you have to actually play strong cards to bring it out. That's the idea for that one anyways. I don't know. Some of these mechanics for these might be a little overpowered, especially because they all focus on like providing some sort of protection to the boss. I think I don't know, I don't want to go too overboard with that because I don't know, if someone just keeps evading you, that's not fun. I don't know. So, but also just I don't want to just give them just health as their only way of surviving, because I don't know, like having lots of health is not like a good gimmick. I don't know. I guess it just runs into the same issues I already have with player health, but I don't know. That's a problem for later after some place testing, I guess. I should have prepared some ideas for cards to design today. I don't know. it's different trying to think of things on stream for some reason. I did have fun explaining everything though. All right. Well, let me do the Lich's Apprentice because this one I didn't make a card for yet, and also I don't really like this effect. I thought it was cool at the time, but I'm realizing now that I don't even have that many cards that have magic as an attack type, and also this says black magic, but it's not. It's just magic. Because I changed the archetypes because I don't know, creature was just implied anyways, and I guess I haven't even explained these, but the attack type is, I guess, the main use for it is weaknesses. So if you attack with the attack type that another creature has as its weakness, then it takes like 1 more damage or something. But the other use for it is in card effects. So you could say like, if this card dies from holy damage, then it can't be reanimated or something like that. That's the purpose of it. And also, the distinction here is just that physical, like an arrow could be a physical attack, but it's not a melee attack. It's just ranged. Even though I don't think I'm gonna make ranged an attack type, because I kind of want ranged to be enforced mechanically as like it doesn't take counterattack damage, and in that case it just needs to be a keyword and not an attack type. And it can just it would just not be melee then, and I don't know. I don't think I need to reference ranged as an attack type. But yeah, and the same thing with the archetypes. It's for being referenced in card text. And also to group together some keywords, like knights and armor. Undead have reanimate. Maybe there'll be some cards that go outside of that, or like I had an idea for a dungeon room that lets you reanimate creatures in graveyard. I actually don't know if I'm going to use this now because I changed the... This was before the Lich had that effect. I mean, it doesn't let you reanimate all creatures in graveyard, but... I don't know. I kind of want this to work better with the way the Lich is worded currently. But yeah, let's do the Lich's Apprentice. So this is a champion. Also I need to export this as a boss because I haven't yet. Thing about Krita, which is the art tool I use, for some reason, their text editor is like, I don't know, it's not great. And like, the size of the text is always the actual size of the text when you open it. So, and the reason I bring this up is because if I go to the card description here, this is what it looks like when I'm editing it. Because this is a small picture, so the text is actually very small. It's just zoomed in, but I can't actually see it in the editing window, or I can barely make out the words. I don't know. I don't think there's a way to actually fix this. Except I mean I could make the I could make the whole template bigger, but I don't really want to redo it again. I already redid it once because it was like very large, like actually really big, which was unintentional. Which had the same problem but in reverse because the text in here was like this tall all the way, and then like yeah, I don't know. It should just let me zoom in here. Anyways, let's start work on this. Um, another thing about Krita, doesn't keep the text boxes are weird. They don't keep in the same place, so I can't just have this centered. Or I don't know of a way to do that. There probably is one, but I don't know. It's just weird. I feel like normally you would just draw the text box in the place that you want to have it, and then the text would conform to the text box instead of whatever this is. So this guy, I want to change this effect because, well, initially what it was that he could. The effect was too complicated, but basically, if someone used an attack of a certain attack type, then he could copy that attack type for the rest of the time that he's in play, or the rest of the game, even. Because he's learning the different attack types. But then I was like, okay, well, I could simplify it if it's just whichever cards are in the graveyard, because then they have been in play, so he would have seen them. So that's where I came to this. Maybe it shouldn't be that it has to be magic, but that the idea is that he learns magic. So maybe it could be like he can add an additional attack type to any of his attacks. I don't know. That actually seems a little silly, because then he just might as well have all of them if he could just choose whichever one he wants. Um. Maybe it has to be like he can use any attack type in addition to magic, but it has to be from a card in play. Kind of like that. No. I don't want it to be like that. It should just be when this card attacks. Add an additional attack type to that attack from... Oh, no, it should be... I think that works. So, quick study. So let's see, that fits? Oh, it does. Great. Well, italicize that because it's an ability. Then wondering if this text will actually be like too small when if I print out the actual cards. Well, that's a problem for later. I'm sure the template that I have here will evolve and change over time. And then the attack type needs to be... Let's remove those. Magic. And archetype undead. Then weakness holy. And I need to move that over. Maybe I should give him some other sort of ability too. The quick study is not... I mean, it'll be useful, but... Well, actually it is pretty useful because... I guess as long as you have a card in play, or anyone has a card in play with an attack type that matches the weakness of a minion that you're fighting, then you just do an extra damage for free, basically. So... I guess that's pretty good. I don't think the champions need to have effects that are too astounding. Although they do have to be good enough to eventually go up against the boss of each dungeon, so I guess I should keep that in mind. Just changing these numbers on the fly. So I should list these in reverse order next time because, well, even though it looks weird. Or maybe just have stats 2-4. That works for me. But unlike the bosses, I don't think there's going to be a limit to the number of champions you can have, because they're just going to be in your deck, except for whichever champion you pick to start with. and then it'll basically depend on you drawing them and playing them. But then once you play them, they'll retreat to your lair so you can keep playing them, so. Yeah. I mean, you'll probably need, if they're at this level, you'll probably need a couple to take down a boss. But I guess also you can attack bosses with minions? I don't know if that makes sense, actually. But it does make sense for bosses to be attack other minions, because well, basically I just want to have it that way so that the person who's in last place can then start clearing other dungeon rooms with their boss to, I don't know, basically make up some ground. Like if their champions weren't doing well or something. Let's get a picture for this. I don't know really what to use for this. I guess I'll do... this guy is cool. Doesn't really matter what the picture is, but it's nice to differentiate them somehow. All right. Well, that's another one done. Actually, the first champion. I was calling them heroes before, but my brother pointed out that if they're of the same faction as your boss, then they're probably not actually heroes. So, champion makes more sense. I guess it's clear that I take a lot of inspiration from anime here. But that doesn't really reflect what the game is going to be like. I just like using that as the placeholder images. And as, I mean, thematically, it can be interesting. Okay, let's get Death Knight. I wonder if that should actually be a minion. But I made it a champion because it's strong. Also, this effect, I had an idea at one point for something to do with overkill damage, but I haven't done anything with it yet. So this doesn't do anything yet. And also I don't remember what the idea that I had for overkill damage was, so this just doesn't make any sense anymore. But he has armor, that's good. I guess we can do the Death Knight now. I kind of think I do want to make this a minion, even though it'll be a strong minion. Oh, no, maybe it should be Jamie. I can be very indecisive about these things. Well, I mean, it took me this long to just settle on an idea for a card game, so I guess that's kind of a given. Also, I have the costs written here, but I'm not putting them on the cards yet because I don't really know how the economy of the resources in this game are going to work quite yet. I just know the main resource to play cards will be gold, and I think you'll get gold for killing minions as well. But I haven't thought much farther than that. That's something I really need to actually play test to figure out. I can't just think of that off the top of my head. So this one will be... yeah, he'll be a champion. We'll do... how about 4/4? With the I'm thinking of the stat lines of the bosses because these stats that I put here were earlier, and it kind of makes these need to be something that can compete with the bosses, in addition to the fact that the bosses have gimmicks that let them stay alive longer. So, I'm trying to take that into account. Oh, I forgot. Oh, okay, that works actually. By the way, this is a keyword, which is different from an ability. And the difference is, it's basically just because their abilities are more specific to the actual card, so I want them to be distinct because, like, armor is something you could apply to any card theoretically. The same with reanimate. But something like this is more specific to this card. So if I make cards that say copy a keyword from a card, I want that to be different from copying an ability of a card. So I'm just thinking ahead there. And this should still have an ability besides the, well, does it actually need an ability? Maybe it doesn't. Well, for now, I'll just leave it with armor, since this effect doesn't do anything at the moment. But he'll probably get an ability later on. It probably won't have to do with... since he's already strong, it's not going to have anything to do with dealing more damage or taking less damage like the armor, because it's already pretty well suited for all that stuff with that stat line. So it'll probably be something like, I don't know, some other sort of useful effect that's on the utility end of the spectrum. Alright. Oh wait, I didn't actually... I forgot a bunch of stuff. This needs to be not magic, this is physical melee. Oh, melee. Weak to holy and fire. It's nice for this guy to have another weakness because he's a little stronger than the other one. The only reason I didn't make the other undead weak to fire is because the Lich's Apprentice and the Elder Lich are skeletons, and I feel like they're already bones. So burning them won't do as much as something that still has flesh. That's my logic anyways. But I think this is done. That's all it needs for now. I'll probably come back and edit the effect later. But oh, right, the picture. Let's get the... well, a lot of these are a little more brutal than I'm looking for. And that one is tiny. Sure, that one will work. Okay. I'll export. Alright, I already made these. I just haven't showed them off yet, but I mean, there's not really much to show off. They don't have any super special effects or anything. They're just minions. I mean, the skeleton is particularly bad. It's really only good in the Lich's deck because it can reanimate, because it's undead. It doesn't actually have reanimate naturally like the zombie does, because zombies naturally reanimate, and skeleton is animated by magic, I guess. So, well, that's just the idea there. I mean, the skeleton. I basically I wanted these to be different enough that the idea was that the zombie you could probably use in other decks because it has reanimate, but the skeleton is weaker and less useful, and would really only be useful to the Lich, probably. I'm trying to think of those sorts of, because I don't really want to enforce faction limitations, because I like the idea of mixing stuff together. I mean, if you want to use skeletons in your army of knights or whatever, just go for it, I guess. But I think it would make sense to have the bosses have abilities like this that encourage you to use cards from the same faction without enforcing it that strictly. But you could also, I kind of wanted also to have maybe a dungeon room that lets you, like this reanimate reanimation chamber. You could have a room that's like any cards in your dungeon or any cards in your graveyard are considered undead or something like that, so that the Lich could reanimate them, even if they weren't undead. And then you could use like dragons and stuff in your deck. Oh, and the one other thing that I haven't mentioned that I was thinking about was mid-bosses. Because I was thinking, if someone's getting ganged up on, their first... I mean, obviously, each time they put another dungeon room into play, that's another incremental advantage to them. Because when you clear a dungeon room, it doesn't actually remove it from play. It just advances the dungeon tracker. So you still get the benefit of each of the dungeon rooms in play. You just don't... it's just clearing the room is moving you closer towards defeat. So the idea for mid-bosses is that I haven't fully worked it out yet, because I was thinking maybe there could be some unique mid-bosses that are specifically mid-bosses. But I was also thinking it would be cool if you could basically have two bosses in your deck, but one of them is at half health, and it's your mid-boss instead. And maybe some of the gimmicks don't work because it's not your actual boss. But then, because they're... I think they would both still start in your lair then, because you picked them both for your boss and your mid-boss. So you might still get the benefits of... So let's say you had... Well, I haven't actually incorporated that sort of element into the other bosses yet. So let's say this one has an ability like, Draconic Heritage. I don't know. And it's just, it could be like a bloodline thing, like, any dragons in your dungeon deal fire attack, have the fire attack type in addition to their other attack types. So it could be something like that, right? So let's say you have the dragon as your mid-boss and the lich as your main boss. Then you could still get these passive effects from both of them. And now, instead of building your deck around a single boss, you could build around two that inform how you build your deck differently. So you could include dragons that, you know, gain the fire attack type, which now would work well against certain types of undead. And then you could have a card that, you know, turns the whatever's in your graveyard into undead, and then you could reanimate your dragons with the lich as undead dragons, and it would be awesome. So that's what I was thinking. I don't... Maybe there will be... Maybe it can be like you can play a boss as your mid-boss, but it's at half health, and then maybe I'll have other bosses that are specifically mid-bosses that don't have a main boss counterpart, I guess. I don't really see why I would do that. I could just make it a boss. I don't know. But, yeah. That's an idea I had. And I think having a mid-boss makes it easier for someone to turn around their game, because when the mid-boss comes out, you're not vulnerable because you don't lose until your boss dies. So if you make it halfway through, if everyone's ganging up on you and you know your mid-boss room comes out, you're still not vulnerable, but now you still have the advantage of your mid-boss being out, so you can start making up ground before you get to such a dire state as having your boss out. Even though that is a huge advantage, it's also a huge weakness. But a mid-boss is just an advantage. So I think it would create a more natural flow to the game, where if you're at a disadvantage, you will get more advantages. That makes sense. Well, since I was talking about it, let's make a room. Well, maybe, maybe it doesn't need to be a room. Maybe this should be, a cleric. Oh, no, 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 because we wanted to work with the lich, so... I like this graveyard idea. I didn't show this off, but I thought of this idea where it's basically like reanimating, but when a creature dies from combat damage, then you basically exile it underneath the card that killed it, and then you could play it from there. I mean, for the same cost as playing the card normally. So basically, as long as that card is still alive, you can keep playing the card. Oh, wait, that doesn't actually work, I just realized, because once you play it the second time, then they might die from a different source, in which case they wouldn't be haunting the same person anymore. Well, I still like that ability, but let's just drop it down here, and I'll figure out something to do with it later. But instead, let's use the graveyard for making undead. So let's say, well, I guess we could just make the card here. I exported the Death Knight, right? Let's see. Yeah. So this should be I was trying to think of a different name from Graveyard, because there's technically already a zone called the Graveyard, so just unnecessary confusion. So let's say Mausoleum. I don't know how to spell Mausoleum. Hold on, let me look up how to spell Mausoleum. Mausoleum. Okay, I wasn't too far off. Wait. Okay, that is a U. Yeah. Haunted Mausoleum? I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter that much. No, it should be a crypt. Of course. That's a much easier name, and it fits perfectly in a dungeon. I guess just crypt. I don't know. I don't have a better name for it. I'm not always super creative with the names. I can come up with a better name later. That's what I'm telling myself. Oh, good lord.
It starts inside the gut with
Stop.
Purina 1 with
sometimes these have ads on them. Sometimes. I just realized this is really close to the end of the playlist. Should shuffle it. Do that. Okay. 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 So this one will be disturbed grave. How about that? Wait. Okay. The effect is all creatures in your graveyard are undead. Something that's not really that useful outside of the Lich, but that's exactly why it should exist. There's a space there, okay. Oh, and it needs a clear condition. So let's say, clear. Clear condition should be, well, I guess if you're using this, well, here's the thing with these. The clear conditions have to be something that they can actually do. Because if it's not something they can do, then that person is basically immune to damage for the time being. Because they can only be damaged once all of their rooms are cleared. Well, not all of their rooms, but you know, enough of their rooms are cleared. So if you have a room that you can't clear, then there's just no way to advance their dungeon tracker and they can't take any damage. So, normally with this sort of thing, my idea is as a safeguard, you would put something into play. So let's say if the clear condition is defeat 2 undead, then you could have the crypt put undead into play as soon as you play it. And that way, there's no chance of them being able to dodge the clear condition. Of course, I don't know. This could be difficult because I might eventually create effects that allow you, and unintentionally, to evade the effects of clear conditions. Which would be problematic to the design of the game. But well, I guess I don't really need to think about that. Right now, I just need to try my best to avoid it, and then when problems arise, I can come up with a solution for them. It's the best way to think about it, I guess. I mean, I do my best to future-proof my designs, but I can only do so much ahead of time, so let's say, on play, return an undead from your graveyard to the to your dungeon. I almost said to the battlefield. That's not what it's called in my game. Wait. No, that wouldn't work either, because if they have no undead in their graveyard, then... Okay, pretend I didn't write that. It should just say, on play, create two, create two skeletons. How about that? Create two skeleton tokens. And to clear, defeat two undead. And you may have noticed that the Lich's layer clear condition says vanquish. And this one says defeat. And that is because the Lich's lair, or the Elder Lich, is a boss. And killing him would not actually mean that he's defeated. So if I said defeat the Elder Lich, and he's defeated, that would technically clear this cleared condition, even though he can still come back because of his effect. So I changed the wording here to vanquish, which specifically refers to that player losing the game. So this will basically only be used on boss rooms. I mean, I don't know if it'll be necessary for other bosses, but just in case, it's probably better. Anyways, close. And this should say, I don't know, maybe I can, maybe I'll specify this more, or maybe, I don't know if skeleton tokens needs to be any more specific than that. Because the skeleton card is just that. It just makes a token copy of a skeleton card. I don't know. I don't really know how tokens are going to work in this game specifically yet. I don't know. It's kind of tricky. Move all these. Wait, not that one. Okay, and that would be the crypt. Put the picture in there. I really don't care what the pictures are, really, as long as it's somewhat reflects what it is, because they're all temporary anyways. I guess this one's done. So this will be your gateway to utilizing other creatures and reanimating them with the Elder Lich. We'll put that in the Dungeon Rooms file. Okay, well, I've been going for a while. I think I'm gonna take a break and switch over to the other scene here. And then I'll come back in a few minutes. So, see you then.
I have a challenge for all of you. Go to every computer in your house, your mom's, your dad's, your sister, your brother's computer.
Alright, I'm back. That was a minute. Just had to eat something and use the bathroom and let the dogs out so they don't go crazy. All that good stuff. Hey, I did it again. Okay. I love that sound it makes. I just downloaded a thing that lets me anchor a window, basically. Well, I didn't just do it. I did it before stream. So basically, just keeps it right up front. It's really nice. I wonder how much longer I should go. I just picked this time for streaming because everyone else happened to be out of the house, which was just lucky because that's kind of when I was planning to do this anyways. And I say planning, but I really only decided that I would do it yesterday. We did have another idea for a boss, or not necessarily for a boss, but like a theme for a deck being all like factory rooms and stuff, machinery, which I love anyways. So maybe we could do some of those, design a new boss, because I do like the idea. Just haven't done anything with it yet. So let's do like Steel Titan or something. That'd be cool. By the way, these say cost 0 because you're never actually paying to put these into play. They just come into play when the boss room goes into play, which just is when your dungeon tracker is run out. Let's do... If I give it like 10 in armor, that's pretty good. Or, I don't know, let's give it 12 in armor. Well, we'll figure out the 3. I don't know, 4 seems good. Literally just making the numbers up. Oh, and this is supposed to be a stat line. Stats 412. Attack type. Well, this will be boss. Archetype machine. And what should its gimmick be? I feel like every robot boss has like conveyor belts as the gimmick. Like, it's kind of loud actually. I don't know if that's actually I don't know how loud it is on stream because it's a different audio level for me. So I don't know if I need to turn it down for stream. Should probably just skip the song. Just because it's so much louder than everything else. I'm gonna have to get used to not minimizing that. Okay. So we'll give this guy an effect of it's like survival gimmick could be that it's like powered by electricity or something. I don't know how that would work. I feel like introducing a secondary resource specifically for machines is just kind of annoying, maybe? And also, I feel like that never works out well design-wise for some reason. Like, I don't know, you're just playing a different game then. If you have to like manage power in addition to everything else. I always thought that could be an interesting design space, like for players who like robots and stuff, then they have like a different interesting challenge to deal with when they're building their decks and stuff. Actually, let's take a wild ride away from this for a moment to explore an old idea, a very old idea that I had for a card game. And calling it a card game, I don't know if I don't know if that's the right word for it exactly. Where's tabletop? Oh, it needs to update. Well, if it doesn't take long, we'll still, yeah. I hate that noise. Oh, no, turn off the music. Just turn it all off. And let me move the chat down here for some over here. There we go. We're going on an adventure. Okay, so you can already see some old prototypes. I'm going to load. No, where is it? Do I even have it anymore? I feel like I must somewhere in here. Wait, I really don't, do I? Wait, it's this one, isn't it? No, this is synthesis. That's the wrong one. Notepad. No, where's the games? I don't think I have it saved anymore. It's weird. But in any case, let me open this one, because I'm sure I still have the assets for it saved, even if I don't have the other stuff saved. So let me go into objects, saved. Project synthesis. Wait, I don't. Wait, I really don't. Okay, well, that stuff is gone forever. I was gonna show off, I had an old card game design that was like, the first one, actually. When I first started trying to come up with a card game design, like, probably 2 years ago now. I guess I don't have the files for it anymore, but it basically, it was also a board game. Like, you would play your cards, they would have health and attack, and they would also move around on a board. But anyways, the only reason I went off on this tangent was to show off that, I had robot cards in that game where the gimmick of that archetype was that you had to power your units, and you would place down like power poles basically to cover an area. Which was a cool idea, but like all of this stuff that would happen in the game, that's all, like, why wouldn't it just be a video game? You have cards, you have a board, and there's like more stuff going on that you want to think about. It should just be a video game. It's just, I don't know. It wasn't even, it was actually boring. That was the biggest reason that I kept iterating on these different ideas, was because I would playtest them and it would be completely boring and not engaging at all in any way. And then I would be like, oh, this was a lot harder than I thought to come up with a design for a game that's actually fun. Which reminds me that I haven't actually playtested this game yet, but I've come a long way. I'm quite confident in the mechanics that I've laid out for this game, and I don't think it'll be the same scenario. But anyways, I don't really want to do the same thing here with the power gimmick, because I don't know what are they gonna, the whole point of making the battling work the way it does, I don't know. I guess the thing is with the power is, like, if you can't power it, then it just can't attack or do anything. Then it's like, why even have that as a mechanic? I don't know. Just dumb. Why is that still going down? Did you hear that? I don't remember that being part of that song. Is that... What is this song? Hold on, hold on. This is Flower Garden? Did that not sound like the Flintstones theme?
Download Grammarly. Are you?
I don't know. I might be crazy. Anyways, I'm easily distracted. I'm sorry. Let's come up with some cool abilities for this guy. The weakness will have to be. Well, I guess acid, right? Acid and water, because it's steel. Well, maybe not water. Acid. Wait. Acid would corrode steel, right? I don't know. I'll just put that there for now. And it's gonna have armor. This card takes -1 damage from physical attacks. Oh, I forgot to close parentheses. There we go. What would be good for this? I'll take suggestions, by the way. You have any ideas about cards you want to see or anything? I'm welcome to suggestions. I mean, at this stage, I'm totally fine with taking suggestions about card types and archetypes and stuff, or abilities, stuff like that. I guess this is the uninteresting part of design, is just sitting and thinking. I should probably come with a set of ideas next time, like things that I want to accomplish during the stream, and then do those, so I don't have to come up with stuff on the spot. I don't know. I think my brain is kind of done. I just can't think of anything anymore, and I don't want to waste anyone's time. I mean, I'm not sure if anyone's watching anymore, but I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I don't want to waste anyone's time or my own time. So I think I'll just end it here and then be more organized next time, instead of being all over the place like this time. But I'll definitely do this again. And it'll probably be better next time because I'll have a better idea of the structure of the game at that point. But I did have fun explaining everything and showing off the cards, making a couple new ones. Yeah. Well, I'm I'm just gonna switch over to the other scene and I guess be done for today. So, thanks everyone for coming and watching and listening to me talk about my game and everything. And I'd love to do this again. So, see ya.